Hello, welcome back to this YouTube channel. So today's video, if you haven't noticed the balloons in the back, 1 million plays on Spotify. Yes. Okay, so I have so much to share with you guys. I just been really trying to find the timing because so much good stuff has been happening rapidly fast, and I've been feeling a little overwhelmed, not gonna lie, and I've been just trying to find the time to film, to continue doing my other obligations. And this video, I know I need to record. I knew I needed to record this video because once I post and share with you guys about reaching 1 million plays, I knew I was going to get a lot of questions that I'm going to address in this video. So this video is dedicated to those who are looking to start a podcast, those who are looking for, just encouragement, because I'm pretty sure this video that you're watching, you were drawn because of, you saw the 1 million, right? Everyone wants to know, like, how do you do it? And I know, like, that feeling. So I wanted to make sure that I had like a sit down chit chat with you guys, intimate, on like my growth journey, because that's what it's really about. It's not just about the highlights, the reels of the 1 million. It's about the growth journey, and I want to take you guys along the journey with me and show you guys like where I started, where my mindset was at, into like how I'm feeling now currently and where I'm at on this journey. Oh my god. So I'm trying not to get emotional because I have other videos to film after this, just to keep it real with you guys. But I just want to share that I'm very grateful for those who support me on my journey, and I love you guys. And I feel like, if I haven't said it enough, I want to make sure you guys that and you feel appreciated for supporting me on this journey. So let's get into this video. Okay, so I want to share with you guys on my journey on how I thought about creating a podcast. Like what was like my mindset and intention, and like how I went about doing it. So around May 2020, that was the time when I created Habits of a Goddess podcast. My first episode was called Self-Love, I Am Affirmations. And before I created that podcast, and before I created that particular episode, my mental health, I'm not going to lie, I was feeling a little depressed. And I don't like to use that word. I don't really like to label or use that word, because I just know like the power of affirmations, and I don't like to label myself as that, because I know like how, like, just mentally, the subconscious mind, I just know how all that works. So that's just my personal reason why I don't really like to label that. But just to be honest, 100% honest with you guys, I was feeling a little depressed. A lot of political stuff that was going on, a lot of movements that was going on, the pandemic, all of that. I felt like every day on social media was just filled with just like bad things. Like it was no like slowly declining, it was like rapidly growing, like someone's dying, someone's of this cause or this virus, or police killing. Like all of that to me was just like a lot on my soul. Like it was really taxing and heavy to me, and I felt like social media was no longer a place for me to just go and get inspiration. So I use social media for business, but I also like to follow like other influencers or bloggers, or just people that to me create like beautiful content. I love to follow them, but I was no longer even seeing those people on my timeline. I was constantly seeing just like a lot of negative talk, people arguing, real life killings happening, looting. All of this stuff was just happening so heavy on social media. Like no matter where you went, like it was there, and I just could not like take it. I was feeling really lonely too as well. A lot of you know, people who I knew, they either went back home and, you know, were with their family, or they had a significant other, they, you know, had a spouse, or they had siblings, whatever. So I feel like they were able to kind of go through the beginning of like the whole pandemic with someone other than just themselves. I was feeling very, very alone, and I don't want to get too deep in it, but you know, just to kind of give you guys like a little background, like, you know, I'm an only child, so I didn't feel like I had like a sibling to like go through the pandemic with, and you know, I don't have a spouse, so I was really feeling like that. And then I just didn't feel like I had like a community, if that makes sense. I just feel like I didn't have the community to really go through what was happening in the world. I just felt alone. And everything that I was truly into, like fashion, beauty, lifestyle, and all that, I felt like they, you know, those influencers, those creators, I felt like they felt almost guilty for creating content that they, you know, that's their job, because if you didn't post, you know, things about what was going on currently in the world, it's almost like you didn't care. But it's not that. It's not like you don't care about what's going on in the world. It's more of like your own mental health. Like, how much can you take? Like, what's your capacity, right? And so for me, I know like my mental capacity, and I know like where I can, you know, add help in the world, and I know like where I'm strong at and where I'm weak at. And I just, you know, I just wanted to kind of give you guys like an idea of like my mental state of being prior to creating the podcast. So what really pushed me to creating it was, I was like, you know what, I may not be out there marching, I may not be out there, you know, or posting like different events, what's going on, but I want to create a safe haven for people who feel maybe alone. And I want to start pouring out into the world like positive divine light, if that makes sense. And so I created Habits of a Goddess. I started with the Instagram page, and I just started posting like inspirational messages and some videos and quotes like from Abraham Hicks or Lisa Nichols. Like, those are inspirational spiritual leaders that I love to follow and listen to. And then I would post my own too as well, because just over the years I've, you know, just gained a lot of wisdom and knowledge in life. So I would just mix content up like that. And then I was like, you know what, I want to create a podcast. I want to create a way for me to use my throat chakra and to express myself and to heal, because I know like there's areas in my life that I felt triggered, especially with what was happening in the world, right? So I was starting to feel not loved, you know what I mean, in a sense. I was starting to feel like certain friends that I thought were friends, I was starting to feel like we were drifting off. And for whatever reason, it could just been like, you know, a lot of people are afraid to get out because of the virus, or school or work or family. There was no like really bad reason, but it was just, I felt like I was starting to drift away from people, like getting out of touch with like people, disconnected, right? And so I created the podcast with different affirmations that I felt like would heal those areas in my life. So for example, with the self-love affirmation, I know like that is important journey for me, is to feel love, but also know that love is within me. Like, I give myself that. Like, I have a love cup that I fill up every day, and I at least try to fill that up every day. I'm not gonna pretend that I'm perfect. There are some days where I don't feel my best, but I know like how important it is to restore like love into your heart and be open to receiving love, whether it's romantic or friendship, you know what I mean, like that type of love. So, but it's so important, it starts with you. Like, the journey is for you, and it starts with you. And so I know self-love was so important on my journey. And then morning affirmations I created because I know like in the morning time how important it is in that window of you waking up to feed your mind with positive thoughts, you know, and not consume negative thoughts or not consume things that really don't feed or grow your soul. So I created morning affirmations, and then I created bedtime affirmations because I know as you're unwinding down the day, you know, it may take you a minute to kind of really get, you know, to rest. So like just affirmations for that. And along the line, money affirmations, definitely wanted to attract sponsorships, definitely attract multiple sources of income my way, and also like reprogram my mind around money, because with different levels in life, there are money blockages. I'm not gonna lie, like I've accomplished so much in my life, but every new level I still like have to expand my mind, and I also have to catch up to that expansion. So I know like money affirmations are an important tool in my life, because you know your old beliefs around money can affect how you view and see, you know, money flowing into your life. So just to kind of give you like a summary of like the different episodes, the different affirmations in my podcast for Habits of a Goddess, those are affirmations that I personally was wanting to like heal or just grow more in tune with, and just use it as a personal development tool for my life. So for 10 months, I did not share or reveal like who I was behind the podcast. I did not promote it. I did not advertise it. I did not pay anyone to shout me out. I didn't even post this on my personal page. Like no one knew who the person, the face behind Habits of a Goddess. On my Habits of Goddess Instagram page, I didn't reveal any pictures or tagged me or anything of that nature. I kept it very like aesthetically, like just the brand colors. So you'll see that like on the side, like how the feed looks for Habits of a Goddess, like in the beginning, right? And then my engagements, I started attracting women, so the engagements, I started attracting women who were searching for that type of content. So my content is very niche. It's for women, and it's for women who are looking to improve their well-being, for self-care, self-love, and spiritual affirmations. So I was attracting spiritual teachers, spiritual learners, and just people who were really searching for positive, uplifting messages on my Instagram page. And as far as the podcast, I really didn't pay close attention to my numbers, because I wasn't creating the podcast for money or for fame or anything like that. I honestly did not know like who was listening to it, because with Spotify, it's not like you can like, it's not like Instagram, it's not like you can DM the person, or it's not like you can see the person's profile who's listening to your episodes. So I really wasn't like interested in trying to grow it to 1 million plays. I was just really putting out content that resonated with my soul, and each week I felt like the previous week or leading up to creating an episode, or whenever I released it, because I wasn't as consistent in the first 10 months, I would just post whenever I felt that nudge, that urge, that inspiration. But I would create from like my abundance. I say that, and I want you guys to kind of really get the picture of what I'm, you know, painting for you guys, is that I didn't have a blueprint. I didn't have like, okay, each week I'm talking about this on the podcast. I just created what felt good to my heart, what felt good in my soul, what I needed for me, for Jasmine. I didn't create it what I thought the listeners would enjoy. I created like what I needed in the moment. And it would be conversations that I would have with my girlfriends, and you know, it would be things that I'm really going through and really things that I was struggling with. And so I created an affirmation for that area in my life, and I created an episode for that area in my life, which, you know, I released on the podcast. So for about 10 months, I did not reveal who I was. I did not, you know, pay for advertisement or anything like that of that nature. I just created from a place of, I want to heal, I want to grow, I want to, you know, work on myself. And it was like an open diary to the world because anyone can tune in and listen to Habits of a Goddess. It was that type of podcast. And so I posted every day on social media on the Habits of a Goddess Instagram page. So that engagement grew over time. I went from like 1 like to like 10 likes to like 30 likes to now like average about 150 to 200 likes a post. And I think that's really, really great because I want to state this too, that my social media page for Habits of a Goddess, my Instagram, it had less than 1,000 followers when I started getting sponsorships and when I started gaining a lot of listeners. I do want to point that out. Like the social media page was like maybe 500 followers at that when I started really growing my listeners on my Spotify podcast. So I do want to point that out, is that you don't need a lot of followers on social media to grow a podcast. I think sometimes we think we need 100,000 followers, right? Or we need, 10,000 likes on a post, and that's not necessarily the case. A lot of times people are going to listen to your content or watch your content, and sometimes they may not subscribe, but they still listen to you or watch you. So keep that in mind if you're thinking to start a podcast or just create a brand, right? So back to the growth. So after 10 months of creating episodes on Spotify, after I created the podcast, I knew that I wanted to create a candle line. And that's when I started doing my research and figuring out like what type of crystals I wanted to incorporate with my candles. I'll have like a clip on the side. And I knew I wanted to incorporate crystals because crystals has been a part of my journey of like personal development, healing, and spirituality. And so it took about 10 months for me to create my candle line because I had to do a lot of research. And so I released my candles on February the 5th, and that's when I revealed who I was behind the podcast. So I'll show you on the side. Oh my God, it was like, I was debating whether or not to show my face. I had this conversation with a couple of friends, and I was like, I don't know if I should reveal who I am behind the podcast, but I'm creating this candle line, and I love photo shoots. And I feel like I want to market my candle different from anyone who I've seen that came out with a candle line. And that was like my pivoted point of showing the world like who I was behind the podcast. So after releasing the line, people was like following people that were following, listening to the podcast, when they would come over to my Instagram page, because I would promote it on my podcast, like the candle line and everything, they would come over to the Instagram page and they would be like, oh my God, your voice, you match your voice. Like your voice is so angelic, it's soothing, it's calming. And they were like, you match your voice, like you're so beautiful. And so that was like really, really like a great, response from my listeners, because they were like wondering like how I looked and they were like trying to like, imagine like how I would look based off of my voice, right? Because it was very soothing, it was very healing, and I'm so glad that I lived up to what they envisioned. Because we all do that, right? When we're listening to something on the radio or on TV or whatever, we're just trying to envision how that person look, or maybe how they smell in person or whatever. And it's like when they saw who I was, they were like, you look like your voice, like you match. So that was really, really fun and great when they saw who I was, right? So the podcast, so the candle line, after I released it, huge success launch, and that was in February. Okay, now everyone sees who I am. They see I'm the person behind the voice, right? So from May 2020 to January, like the last week in January, like early February, my podcast, like there was like a flat line. I'm not gonna lie. It started slowly picking up around November, but something happened in January. I cannot pinpoint exactly what it was, because I started looking and at the analytics. That's when I started noticing my podcast was growing. I was playing around in the app and I noticed that I had like money sitting in my dashboard. So for those who don't know, I am sponsored on my podcast by Anchor, and Anchor pays you per CPM. It's kind of like YouTube, so they pay you for every like 1,000 CPM, you get paid a certain amount. I'm not going to reveal that because it is confidential, but you do get paid per CPM, just like YouTube, but it's like every 1,000 plays you get paid. So that was like around January, and it wasn't a lot at that time because you got to remember my podcast was like maybe 12 plays in the beginning, and then like slowly gradually climbing to like 200 and something plays, and then that was like till January. Around February, I got like 15,000 plays, and I was like, where is this coming from? That's when I started paying attention. That's when I started really looking at my dashboard on Anchor. So Anchor is the platform host that I use to record my episodes. And I was like obsessed. I started really watching it, and I started really like looking at how much money I was making, because I would get sponsorships in increments. And then I started looking at, I started researching, because I was like, oh my God, how can you tell like if you're doing good in the podcasting world? Because I you know, prior to that, I didn't have much knowledge about a podcast. So I started doing research on like, how can you tell like if your podcast is good? Like how can you find the ranking of your podcast? Like how can you get more sponsorships? Because the sponsorship with Anchor, it had just appeared in my dashboard. I wasn't searching for a sponsorship. They just reached out to me. So that was like a good thing. They reached out to me. And I came across like an article, and it was like, register your podcast, like Spotify podcasters to see like your numbers for Spotify, like on Spotify. So my podcast is distributed on different platforms, and Spotify is one of them. Apple Podcasts is another. Google is another one. Sounder is another one. Pandora is another one. So those are just different outlets, but we're going to focus on Spotify because this is where I noticed my listeners were at. They were literally listening to me on Spotify, the majority of my listeners. So I registered my podcast, and I started pulling up my numbers. I didn't even know this, but like my podcast was like sitting in the top charts, like the top 100 podcasts. Like it was sitting in that top chart. At the time, I do believe I was like ranked like number 10 or something whenever I started. I have to go back. I'll find screenshots for you guys along as I'm talking, so you guys can really follow along my journey. I started noticing that I was ranking really high in my category. So my podcast is under top education and self-help improvement category, because what I speak on my podcast, it goes underneath that category, if that makes sense. I'm educating women on how to reprogram their mind with positive affirmations, and it's uplifting, so it's self-help improvement in that category. So I started watching this thing like every day. I got obsessed with it because I was like, oh my God, I see my numbers were like flatline for 10 months. Almost a year seemed like it, and then it skyrocketed up, and it keeps climbing up. So I could see how many people follow me on Spotify. I could see how many people have listened to my episodes, you know, from the beginning. I could see how many people are, I could see the demographic, like their age. I could see the region, like what countries there are listening to my podcast. I could see their gender. I can see what other music or something that they listen to along with my podcast. So it's like I could see like all this information, right? All this data. I still didn't understand how to program the data or process the data. I was just really trying to consume and take in a lot of knowledge, and also asking people questions like, hey, what do you think this means? Just getting kind of like advice from different mentors. And so I noticed the growth happening rapidly fast. And I want to say to those who may be wondering, like, okay, how did you get the million? I want to say that Habits of a Goddess is a true testament of what Habits of a Goddess stands for. Self-care, self-love, and spirituality affirmations. That niche is focused for women. I'm focusing on women. When I speak, I'm focusing and looking and talking to women for that place. And those are the people that were searching during the whole pandemic. They were searching for things to help them with their mental health or help them like improve their overall well-being. So I say that to say that if you have been following me, whether on Jasmine Rasco's like my personal page or on here, then you know I'm a believer of law of attraction and positive thinking. So I put out into the world that I wanted to attract women that were like-minded in my community, and that's exactly what happened. So women that were searching for self-love because maybe they felt the same on the journey as well. Women that were searching for affirmations around calm because maybe their anxiety was at an all-time high with what's going on in the world. Women that were searching for like a morning affirmation because maybe they felt a little just their morning routine has not been like consistent, so they needed some kind of structure. So like waking up in the morning and looking forward to like an affirmation has been part of their morning routine. I'm sharing that with you to say that people are searching for your passion, for your gift, and what you have to offer to the world is valuable. Don't think for a second that you're not a valuable person. When you are pouring out into the world things from your heart and you're not looking for anything in return, you're just honestly being authentic and true to yourself, those are the people that are going to gravitate to you because you're going to be a light. Like your light is going to shine so bright that you're going to attract those people in your tribe. You're going to attract those people that want to join the ride that you're on. People want to get on your bus and head down the path to happiness, to peace, to prosperity, to love, to joy. Those people are looking for that within themselves. And if you are someone who are advocating for that, you're going to attract that in your tribe. And so ever since I started the podcast, that's what I've been consistently putting out into the universe. And so the universe is like rewarding me with listeners who are searching for that. And so I share that with you because it's so easy to get caught up in like, how can I grow my podcast to 1 million followers or plays, and how can I... Hey guys, so I don't know where it cut off, but the camera did cut off because it got a little hot. But I just want to say that if you have a passion to create something in the world, to share your voice, whatever your passion is, I cannot stress this enough, do it. There is no better time than now to create your own reality. And I say that with a heart of just, if anything, I wish I would have done it sooner, because I used to have limit beliefs and limitations that who would support me, right? No one will support me, and that's farthest from the truth. There are people out here in the world that want to support you on your journey, that want to support whatever your passion is, your creativity is, because you're adding value to them. And it could be a podcast, it could be a styling, maybe you're into fashion, maybe you're helping them with their fashion, giving them tips on how to dress for their size, their you know, their career, or it could be beauty, helping women and, you know, showing them how to create makeup looks that they can take from day to night, whatever it is, right? Just kind of give you guys like an idea. So prior to me creating my own podcast, I did have limitations and beliefs that no one would want to support me on something that I'm truly passionate about, because there's so many people doing the same thing, and that's the farthest for the truth. Also, I do want to point this out, and I will insert a clip. I believe the last time I saw an article that was most recent, there are over 200 million podcasts on Spotify. Hey guys, so I want to correct, there are over 2.2 million podcasts on Spotify. A little correction, I got a little excited, but at the time I was ranked number 10, but we're gonna check the charts right now. Today's date, it is September the 14th. So we're gonna just look at where I'm ranked at right now. I'm currently ranked number 8. Number 8, guys. Number 8 in the top education category. And so I get updates every day on Chartables. That's like a place where it'll update like your podcast, like how it's doing, ranking the different categories and stuff. And so, you know, there's over 200 million podcasts in the world, and for me to be ranked number 8, I think that is a sign from the universe that, Jasmine, what you're doing is helping and changing women's lives, and you're adding value to people. But not only that, you're healing yourself, because there was a time in my life where I wasn't actively using my voice, and you know, it stemmed from my childhood, and so I knew that there was areas in my life that I needed to address so I can just show up in the world as my beautiful divine goddess self, right? So my podcast has been that for me. It has been a place for me to activate and use my voice to heal myself and to help others in the world, giving value from a place of love. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please reach out to me, comment away, and let me know what your takeaway was from this video. Like, I know you guys some of you guys that may watch this video, you may be wondering like, okay, I want to reach 1 million, or you know, like maybe you're expecting maybe something different. But I want to say this, I do want to make this very clear, is that your gift will make room for you. Don't get so sidetracked on watching what other people are doing in their life. Make sure you are focusing on your own life. And I use this video and the title of this video for inspiration, because I was once that person that would look at someone else's success and wonder, okay, how do they do it? Like, give me your formula, give me your blueprint. There is no one-way blueprint or formula to success. I cannot make this clear enough. There is no one way or formula of blueprint to success. So success for me happened at the right time in my life with my podcast, and it couldn't have came at a better time, because I showed up in the world as myself, and I was vulnerable and being open and not worrying about who would watch it, who would like it, and who wouldn't. So as you can see the timeline, right, I literally had a flat line of listeners. Like, no one was really listening to my podcast that much until 2021. So it took off, and it just kind of snowball effect. So I share that with you guys from a place of love, is that don't get caught up on the numbers. Don't create only for the outcome. Create from a place of inspiration. Create from a place of like, you know, this is fun for you, or this is a place for you to create, to express yourself and maybe heal your own self, right? We are all creators. We all co-create with the universe. So I cannot stress that enough, is that don't get so caught up on other people's numbers. It looks good, right? But are you happy with what you're creating in this lifetime? So I hope this video inspired you. Please comment your takeaway from this video, and if you want more like tips on specifically on how to get sponsors, because that is something that I had to figure out on my own. Like I said, prior to creating the podcast, I did not know like any of this. It was just a lot of trial and error. So if you want a video separated from this on that, let me know in the comments, because I want to create something that is going to be adding value to your life and more meaningful. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing the next one. Bye. Don't forget to like and subscribe too as well, okay guys? Bye. Mwah.